Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? There's like an interesting red tone to this video tonight. I'm not really sure why that is. It is really early in the morning. It is 5:37 a.m. going into Saturday, but this is Friday's, or this is the vlog from Friday. But I fell asleep. I did a live stream at 11 o'clock last night, and I was only on for like a half an hour. And then Alex came home. He was out with a friend of his that was in town visiting, and I went to bed with him when he came home. And I woke up about a half an hour ago. Took the dogs out twice, because this is what they do. They go outside, and then Pee-Pee comes inside, and I think it's because of the Lasix that he takes. It makes him so thirsty. He just like chugs and chugs and chugs and chugs water. And so then he has to go outside to go potty again before he goes back inside. And then once he's done his potties and he's had his drink of water, and sometimes they get a late night snack, but sometimes they don't. They didn't tonight. Then they go back up to bed, all three of them. They're so cute. And then I go vlog. So yeah. I'm still drinking my Starbucks Nitro Cold Brew that I reviewed today in my review video. If you watched that video, I said in there that if you come back 8 hours later from my vlog, I'll probably still be drinking it. And it's now, I don't know what, a lot of hours later, and I'm still drinking it. My opinion has, I still feel the same as I did in the review. Like, it's a really good coffee, like a really strong coffee, but it's so caffeinated, like, and I'm not super sensitive to caffeine, but like, I even noticed it. I would say it's not my favorite coffee that I've ever had. I mean, it's really strong. I think it's almost stronger than espresso. But it tastes good. It's very rich. And like, to have a coffee just to sip, it's really good. So, yeah, because it's late, I probably won't be vlogging for a long time. And I know that I always say that in here. It's interesting because I said something last night in my vlog about not knowing how long my vlogs were when I started. I can't remember who said it. I think it's Crystal commented on the video and said that when I started, they were like 10 to 12 minutes long, and then they went to like 20, 25 minutes to a half an hour, and then they just kind of kept on getting longer. I know what happened when they got around an hour. I did an hour vlog one day, and I don't think I had planned to. I don't remember, but the reception was really positive. People really liked it a lot longer. And then I kind of went back to it being less. I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I don't think so. For a couple days, and then people were like, oh, I really like the long vlogs. And so I thought, well, if people really like the long vlogs, then I'll give them the long vlogs. You know, like, it's not that difficult for me to do, to, you know, drive around in a car, or sit at home and talk and whatever. So that's kind of how they got longer. When I first watched vloggers originally, like where they would just kind of like, you know, record their day, one of the people that I initially started watching was Will and RJ at Shep689. It was one of my favorite channels forever. They vlogged every day for like 7 years. They were a couple, and at the time that they started, they were living in, I think, Gainesville, Florida, going to college. And then they graduated, and they moved to LA, and their dog was a big part of it. And it was just a lot about their relationship and their life and things like that. It was just like, you know, for me, I don't know, there might have been a lot of other vloggers like that, but it was like the first time I'd ever seen something like that, where it was kind of like a mini reality show, like an inside light, you know, look into somebody's life. And that is originally what I had planned to do on this channel. They're not together anymore. I've actually talked about them on here before. Like, if they had never done that channel, I don't even know that I would have ever started YouTube, period, on any channel. Because I just watched them for so long, and they made it look so easy. But they're like one of those couples that I was like really invested in them, you know, like as a couple, and I'm not stupid, I know stuff happens, right? But like they broke up, and I saw like somebody sent it to me on Twitter because I've talked a lot about them, about like they inspired me to start YouTube and stuff. And so somebody sent me their thing on one of their things on Twitter that said that they had broken up, and which was really sad because like they broke up like a year after they got married. I mean, to this day, neither one of them has really come out, and it's been like a year or two, and said anything. I think Will is with somebody else now. I saw on his Instagram. It's interesting, you know, like being part of YouTube but still watching YouTube, because it's like this surreal world. Like I was thinking about this the other day. Somebody like in my personal life was asking me like what it was like to meet Trisha Paytas, and I'm like, it still feels kind of surreal that I met her, honestly. Like it doesn't, like I watch her videos and I feel removed from it. Like even when I'm watching her videos and they take place in the same place that I was standing or sitting on that floor, like I'm sitting there watching it, and it's like, it's almost like I didn't meet her. Like it's different, you know, the way that you see somebody on YouTube and then meeting them in life. But the reality is that all of these people are just, they're just normal people, you know? I mean, unless you're the daughter of a star of a TV show, like Full House, I guess you have I guess you get treated differently in the world. That was my bad joke for the day. We got talking about that in the live stream tonight, about that Olivia Jade and the woman, her mother from Full House. Do you guys know about all that kind of stuff? People really want me to make a video about that. I feel like I have a lot of opinions about it. Tanya and I got into a long conversation about it the other day. But anyway, you know, like when you're watching YouTubers, it's interesting because like I think anything on our mobile devices, whether it be, you know, our phone or our computer, mobile devices, our phone, anything like, you know, that has the internet, phone, TV, computer, iPad, whatever, to see somebody on there in video form, like you guys watching this right now, I think, like, you know, it's crazy to me when people are like, oh my God, I would die if I met you or something. Like, I'm like that is such a weird comment for me. I'm like, I'm literally just a normal dude that like goes into the gas station or goes to, you know, a 12-step meeting or hangs out with my friends. Like I'm really, it's not any deeper than that, you know, and I just happen to make videos. And, it's just crazy, you know? Like I've really never lost that. Like today I was watching a ton of booktubers. So BookTube is still a community that I watch a lot of. Like it's probably, out of all of the videos that I watch the most of, BookTube is probably the most. And the thing that I love about BookTube is, and it's kind of unlike any other community. I mean, I've watched like a lot of candle reviewers, honestly. You guys know I watch a lot of beauty influencers. And what's interesting is there are a few that shout out other people. But it almost kind of seems now, like, after having watched so much BookTube, I don't even know that you can explain it unless you've seen it. Like, you know, when you're watching a beauty influencer and they're like, oh, and so-and-so did my makeup, or you should check out so-and-so, it almost kind of seems very contrived, right? Like it was a shout out on purpose or something, unless it's a smaller makeup influencer. I think small creators support small creators. But, like, which is why, like, I've always tried to shout out people that I love or I'm inspired by, because it just is natural to me, and why wouldn't you do that? But on BookTube, it's so funny, because when you're watching videos, you know, you'll be watching somebody, and I was watching this person that had, like, commented on a couple of my videos, and I was like, who is this person? All of a sudden, they've kind of, like, just started showing up on my videos, and they've, like, made a couple comments referencing that they had a channel too, you know? Like, I mean, it wasn't like, I don't really, to be honest with you, this whole idea of like, like you shouldn't get underneath somebody's video and say, you should come and, if you like this, come and watch my, I don't really care if people do that, if they promote themselves in my videos. Promote yourself all you want. But there's kind of a classier way to do it, you know, that to say like, hey, I did a very similar video to this, you know, you should check out my channel, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's okay, especially when it's somebody that's trying to build their channel and they're putting like time and energy into what they're doing. I don't mind that, you know, why would I? But anyway, so I went and I was watching this. The reason I'm not saying their names is because I think that I'm going to do a video on smaller booktubers that I found recently. And I just love that there are all these people out there that just, you know, you could just tell they're like, they're getting literally like 100 views a video, and they're just like pump out videos, and they're so okay, I had to stop it and restart it because it was like way out of focus. But anyway, there's a lot of booktubers that, you know, like they just don't have a lot of subscribers, they don't get a lot of views, and they just like pump out videos, you know, because they truly, truly love talking about books and having a community to talk with and make videos. And I so relate to that. That's like why, you know, when I started BookTube, I was making, you know, 2 videos a day sometimes, and I just couldn't get enough of it, you know? And whenever I watch them, it just really re-inspires me to be part of that community. And I don't even get that many views in those videos over there, you know? Like, and it's never really been about that. I think there's this misconception, you know, often that, you know, I've often been accused of always being about the views and all this kind of stuff and the subscribers. But if you like look, like my Peterisms channel, this vlog, my, you know, BookTube channel, the review channel, but I just recently started that. I mean, the numbers have all kind of really just stayed the same for a long period of time as far as views and things like that. And I still make videos on an almost daily basis on those channels, you know. I mean, BookTube and my Peterisms channel, I do like every other day now and stuff like that, because I sometimes run out of time if I do a review video, which I'm trying to like do more of those. But I'm still trying to post on those channels, you know, several times a week. I mean, I'm posting probably 20 plus videos a week on all of my channels across the board. And it's just because I love it. I love making videos. I love talking about these things. It's so fun for me. And, oh my Lord, that was loud, wasn't it? So yeah. But I was watching these, and I think the other thing is too, that like, I've always said on my channels that even if I only had 5 subscribers, I would continue to watch, or I would continue to make videos. And Alex and I were talking about this at dinner the other night, and, you know, he was like I was like reading him some of the comments that I had gotten. And there was a comment that I got on my vlog, and I seem to have gotten like a lot more of these. It's like just got really hot in here all of a sudden. I've seemed to have gotten a lot more of these comments recently where people are like, you got me through a really, really hard time of my life by listening to your vlogs and all that kind of stuff. Those comments mean so much to me. I mean, it's not like I'm talking about anything really life-changing or things that other people haven't thought about or talked about with their friends or whatever on here, you know? And it really isn't me doing the work. Honestly, I wish people realized that. I mean, I wish that you got that when you're sitting there saying, like, you got me through a hard time. I may have distracted you from thinking about things that were going on, but it was really you that put one foot in front of the other and continued to push forwards, you know? And I was telling that to Alex, and I said, you know, it's those comments like that that just keep me going. Or somebody saying, like on my review channel, you know, like, you got me laughing so hard, or, you know, like, I don't know why this cracks me up, but I love when people get like really defensive on my review channel and they have like a very strong opinion about like a food item that I review. And I love that, like, that somebody is so willing to stand their ground behind something that they like, a food they believe in, right? Like, don't you think like we should be more like that in the world? Do you know what I mean? It's just, I like that. And I've learned a lot too. Like, people will say things on there like, oh, you should try this. Or like somebody the other day was like, you know, I get the French toast sticks, or I get them for my kids or something. I can't remember what they said, but they were like, I don't give them the syrup, you know, or, you know, like, oh, I try this coffee, but I try it this way, or I have them put that in there. You know, it's like, it's such I love the conversation of YouTube that YouTube allows, you know, back and forth. But anyway, I was watching all of these booktubers tonight, and what happens when you're watching booktube is that you'll like watch somebody and you'll watch like 2 or 3 of their videos, and while you're watching their video, they'll say like, oh, I mean, one of the reasons why I love it is I always find out about 10,000 more books that I want to read, or if it was a book that I wanted to read and you hear kind of like 3 of the same opinions about the book, it either makes you want to read it more or like less. Like, I have heard so much about Laini Taylor's Strange the Dreamer. I mean, literally, I think the very first time I heard about it was from Connor O'Brien and Ginger Reads Laini. And does she make videos anymore? Does she just make videos about writing? I don't know. But anyway, she was one of my very first favorites. I think she mostly makes writing videos now. There's AuthorTube too. Did you guys know that? Anyway, Cam at Wolf Shop Publishing, I think that's, I don't know if he's changed his BookTube name, but he was the first person that talked about AuthorTube, and I didn't know about it, where it's all just authors making videos about their writing process and stuff like that. I think that's really interesting. All these small communities on YouTube, I think, is fantastic, you know? It's kind of like all going to one big high school together, and everybody has these different clubs and organizations that they're part of. It's very cool. But what's different than, you know, like a lot of these beauty influencers that, like, they'll shout somebody out, but it's like, it feels like they're doing them a favor or whatever. It's just natural, you know, like on BookTube, like, or it seems natural at least. They'll be like, oh, and I read this book because so-and-so recommended it to me, and, you know, and so then I'll go over and I'll watch that person's videos, and all of a sudden I'm hooked, and then I'm watching their videos, and they're shouting somebody out and talking about how they got a book recommendation from somebody, and all of a sudden I'm like 4 or 5, you know, videos deep, watching somebody, and I'm like, have 4 or 5 new favorites, you know, of booktubers, and then I've spent 2 hours watching booktube videos. I do have to say, though, that a lot, for me, isn't just a discussion about books. It's kind of like listening to people that get just as passionate as I do about reading, and their personality kind of matches that a little bit. I love that, when you see somebody that's really excited about reading or a book or talking about a book, you know? And what I do is, like, I watch these, I like sit on the couch and I watch these videos and on my phone, and then I screenshot it, like, when they're talking about a certain book. And then I go into like Audible or Amazon Books, and I like look them up, and I either like, you know, buy them, or I put them in my wish list or whatever. It's crazy. And then I go in there later and buy them. I used to buy a lot of books from thrift books, but I don't do that as much anymore. I got kind of obsessed with them for a while. And the reason why is that, like, their books come used, but the books I bought from thrift books, they just don't come in very, like, they're half the time falling apart and taped together. That's happened on Amazon too, but less often than on thrift books. But thrift books is a lot cheaper. I mean, if you're trying to get a cheap version of a book, you know. So anyway, Peter, what did you do today? Let's see. I got up and did a bunch of stuff around the house. It was cold today, you guys. It's 30 degrees outside right now, and it's really cold. It was like flittering snow earlier, and to go from like 60 and 70 degree weather to this, it was like 40 something today, but it felt really cold, and it was kind of windy in Indianapolis. So I left the house finally in the middle of the afternoon, and I went and I got this coffee and I did this review. And then I ran some errands Alex got off work early tonight, and so he was coming home as I was running errands, and he was getting ready to, he was kind of just like hanging out in bed with the dogs to go out, because he was getting ready to go out with his friend who's visiting from out of town. And so he asked me if I wanted to go out with them. And I don't know this guy as well as he does, but I was like, no, I think I'm going to do a live stream and finish up my videos. And I made today a total with my vlog 6 videos, you guys. And I had a blast filming videos today. It was just really fun. So I got my videos up, and then I sat there and I watched some TV with the dogs and just kind of relaxed for a little bit. And then I did a live stream for half an hour, and then Alex came home, and that was kind of my day. I feel like I did something else today. There was something I wanted to talk about on here today. Now I don't remember what it was. It just wasn't a really monumental day. I honestly did not even want to go outside. It was like, I was so like ready for the warm weather after the last 2 days that to wake up and have it be like cold outside was kind of like, oh man, like this is not fun. And tomorrow night we are going to our friend's birthday party, and Sarah's going with us. So that'll be fun. Alex said that they're going to go out afterwards, and he asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, I don't know, we'll see. They'll probably go somewhere kind of loungy on the north side. Like when I started this vlog tonight, I felt like I had all this stuff to say, and now I can't remember what I was going to say. I don't know. I'm ready for winter to be over, I think. You know, unless we're going to get some massive snowstorm or something that, you know, make a pot of coffee and be stuck inside and light candles and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm ready for it to be over. I'm ready for spring. This just back and forth weather now that is kind of, you know, how March is. I don't love it. I just don't think it's fun. And I do like snowstorms and all that kind of stuff, right? But not if it's going to be like 70 one day, and then, you know, it's kind of like going to Florida and having it be like 80, and then the next 3 days it's raining and like 50, you know what I mean? Oh, I finally finished those graphic novels that I've been reading, Unlovable. I did my review of that and put that up on my BookTube channel today. I was happy that I finally finished those, but I was kind of sad that I finished them too, because she doesn't have any other books. She'd be great to like write a book, like not just a graphic novel. I need to trim my beard, you guys. I have not trimmed my beard since like Tuesday, I think, and it's really long. I mean, it's not really long, but it's driving me crazy. So many people, I did this review of the graphic novels, but I called it like the best graphic novel series ever or something like that. And a couple people in there, because I mentioned the Diary of Anne Frank graphic novel that I have, a couple people recommended that I read that one, that it was really good. So I'm probably going to read that one next. I also have the first 3 volumes of, I almost said The Grateful Dead, the first 3 volumes of The Walking Dead that I haven't, like I started reading them a long time ago, but I never even made it through the first one. I wish I had some really exciting stuff to say today, but I just don't. It was interesting because I did this Peterisms video, and I did it reading an excerpt of the book by Dr. Sherry Scott called If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules, which is one of my favorite self-help books ever. And I think it's lesson number 4, I think, is lessons are repeated until they are learned. And it's like rule 1 is, in life you will be given a body. And in rule 2, I think is, I read them all today. I should know them, but I don't. But anyway, it's like there will be lessons in life, and then lesson 4 is like lessons are repeated until they are learned. And what that means is that patterns repeat themselves in our lives until we change these patterns, you know, of dating the same kind of people, attracting the same kind of people in our lives. You know, it said they're working for like the same kind of bosses, putting ourselves in the same kind of situations, that typically there's like a lot of like you have to break the pattern and you have to understand why that pattern is there and all this kind of stuff. And I hadn't read that passage, and I don't remember the last time. I may have done it in a video on Peterisms, but so I was like opening the book, and I said in there, it was funny because I said, you know, like I found this book originally like 20 years ago or something, and I opened the book and I had signed my name in there and written, and it said Peter A. Monn, and then it said 1999, and I was like, oh my God, it was exactly 20 years ago that I got this book. And I can remember her on Oprah talking about this book, you know, and then I went out and I bought it, and at Borders, when Borders was right up the street. I used to love this Borders that was by our house, and it was like, or by my apartment back then, and they just had like, it was like when Borders first came around, I think, and it was like, they just had table upon table upon table of just like all these books, and I would just like, you know, go along the book. I found so many good books that way, just you know, perusing over these tables of, you know, they'd have like a table and it would say great beach reads, and then there would be like 30 books, you know, or books to read to get scared, and there'd be like 30 books, you know, or great memoirs, and I'd read along there, you know. But so anyway, I bought this book like 20 years ago, and it was so weird, like when I was reading through the lessons tonight, like of how much, like what this book spoke of, like still resonates with me, and I still believe. And you know, I was thinking a lot about like self-help books that I've read through the years that have really, really helped me. And like this one, I think, has collectively the most things that I've learned. But I think about all these different self-help books that I've read, that like, even if I've just taken like one thing from them over the course of 20 years, like that's a lot of lessons. You know, I remember, so we interviewed Kelly Catrone for our website, and so I read her book, If You Have to Cry, Go Outside, which is like, she said she didn't like calling it a self-help book, but it really is a self-help book. And it's really about finding out who you are, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And you know, she says in the book that you have to find a tribe of people that are similar to yourself, and that, you know, are just as passionate about the things that you are. And I think that's true. You know, I think you have to find people that like really get you and get your soul. And if you're surrounded by that, then your soul is like alive, right? And whether that's, you know, joining a volleyball team or a book club or whatever. And it is so hot in here, you guys. I have the heat turned off. I don't know how it's so hot in here. Oh, well, I have my seat heater turned on. That might be part of it. So anyway, I remember reading that book, you know, and thinking about that, and how inspired she was to like move to New York City and like change her life and all this kind of stuff. And then I was thinking of these Sark books. There's a Sark book called Making Your Creative Dreams Come True, or something like that. And it really powerfully impacted me. And then the Celestine Prophecy, which is really not a self-help book, but like it really powerfully like, I still think about that book on a regular basis, you know? Like, I remember this one thing in there, they were talking about, like, energy between people, and that if you're, like, arguing with somebody, it's like visually imagining throwing like there's a fire in between you, and like throwing gasoline on the fire, and if you throw it on the fire, it gets bigger, and if they throw it on the fire, it gets bigger. But if one of you stops, the fire at some point isn't going to get any bigger. I mean, it's just going to be a one-sided, you know, fire. And I think about that a lot, you know, that I don't have to add fuel to the fire. Like, I think about that in literal terms, you know? And I remember, like, when I read it back then, like, today, it has so much meaning to me and application in a lot of different ways with a lot of different people and situations. But I remember specifically, like, when I was thinking about this today, of all the things I've learned from these different books, that at the time that I read it, which was my first 6 months sober, like, I literally read that book, like, right out of treatment. I've talked about that on here before. Like, it was life-changing to me. I read it in one night. And that specific part was so much about my mom and I at the time, you know, and me, like, because we would argue, you know, about stuff all the time. And I mean, it was too, this is that chapstick or lip balm that's dead. We were two alcoholics, and we were two people with untreated addiction, you know? And I had just gotten out of treatment. I remember reading that book and I thought, God, this is my mom and I. But that changed, you know? And we were able to have this really healthy relationship, but we had to look at our part. We had to look at the part that each of us were throwing fuel on the fire. It wasn't that, to have a healthy relationship, it wasn't that one of us could have just stopped throwing fuel on the fire. We both had to. I'm not a real big believer that in any teardown of any kind of relationship, working relationship, family relationship, friendship, romantic relationship, that it's only one-sided. I just don't believe it's ever one person's fault. I believe both people have a very big part in all of that, you know? And at the end, really, for me, what I've learned is it's about ownership to try to fix the tail end of that, but the reality is it's about going into the next friendship, relationship, work relationship, family relationship, you know, with the same similar issues, and knowing what my part is in that and not repeating it in the future, you know, and trying to be different and be better. And I just remember reading that book, and that was like the thing that I pulled out that was like, that's like the one thing from the book that I remember the most. But I look back on all these self-help books and all of these things that I have remembered, you know, from, but it's only like usually like one thing. I remember reading Codependent No More by Melody Beattie. And there's a story at the beginning of a woman that's, her husband's an alcoholic. And she tries to control his drinking by, like, telling him how much he can drink. Like, she's like, well, I'm going to buy you a 6-pack and then you can come home and you can, I mean, as an alcoholic, this is just so absurd, right? But she's, I mean, and it's in the book to show, like, how absurd the thinking is. But she's like, I'm going to buy you a 6-pack and then that's what you can drink. And then when the 6-pack is gone, that's, like, all you get to have for the evening, right? If you've ever lived with an alcoholic, you know that this is like, do you see it's like green now? It's weird. It reminds me of the end of the movie The Wiz, when they're going around and the colors keep changing. Do you remember that? I love that movie so much. But I think, well, that's absurd thinking anyway, that you can control another alcoholic's drinking, or, you know, and then your need to control that is codependent to some degree, right? Or it is codependent, as Melody Beattie says. So, but this woman realizes over time that she can't. This is so funny. Okay, it stopped. Is it like shadowy? No, okay. They put this pancake place right next to this bar that's always open. And it's like open, the pancake place right now. I think I might want to go in for some hot cakes. It sounds pretty good. Like, I split my nail or something on the side. It's like hurting. Anyway, And I remember reading that and thinking about, like, my mom, like, when I was growing up, you know? Like, pouring her alcohol down the drain. I can remember being in high school, you guys. Like, this is so crazy. Like, you want to talk about anger at addiction, right? Like, I can remember, like, these are when I was drinking with my friends and stuff. But then I would sit there and I would, like, pour my mom's alcohol down. I didn't take her alcohol and use it for myself. I poured her alcohol down the drain, knowing that I was going to have to, like, go and get somebody to buy me alcohol, or, you know what I mean? I was pouring my mom's alcohol down the drain. I mean, that is a statement towards the alcohol and the alcoholism. That's a statement saying, no more, I'm done with you. I can't stand you. I mean, it was the anger at the addiction, you know? Because I was drinking too. But I can remember, like, you know, Christmas Eve and, like, just pouring all of this alcohol down the drain. I was so pissed, you know? And I remember when I read that, I thought to myself, like, I remember thinking to myself, oh, the train is up here. I remember thinking to myself, like, if there's no alcohol in the house, my mom won't drink. Well, that doesn't stop most alcoholics from going and getting alcohol. I mean, it just really doesn't. The train's way up there. All the things are coming open. So I think it's not about experiences or lessons or self-help books or whatever being completely life-changing. I think it's taking maybe just even one lesson, you know, out. I remember when I first got sober, my sponsor at the time would be like, well, you need to go to this meeting. I was going to a meeting every day, sometimes twice a day, but he'd say, you need to go to this meeting or you need to go to that meeting. I'd be like, oh, I hate that meeting. Well, why do you hate that meeting? And I'd say, it's just like, it's such a boring meeting. Can I go to a good meeting? And he'd say, every meeting is a good meeting. And I was like, I do believe that now, but I didn't then. I mean, some meetings just seem so boring to me, you know? And he was like, he said to me, what I want you to do, something like, you need to take a pad with you, and then, like, anything that the speaker says, I think my counselor had said this to me too, but, like, because this is kind of like an old treatment thing, that anything that the speaker says that you relate to in a meeting, like, I was going to a lot of speaker meetings at the time, write down. So if somebody writes down, like, I'm an alcoholic, you write down, I'm an alcoholic. If somebody writes down, I'm an addict, you write down, I'm an addict. You know, if they say, you know, I grew up in Indiana, you write down, I grew up in Indiana. And what it does is it helps you focus on the similarities and not the differences. And I didn't get that at the time. That was fine. I didn't need to get it. I just needed to do the work, you know? And, but it forced me to start listening. And what I realized over that was I started really hearing the way that I was similar to people in the addiction instead of different, you know? Because you get sober and then you want to look at, well, I'm not like this, or, you know, this person is 56 years old and I'm, you know, 22 and a half at the time. I mean, like, they got to drink for like 30 more years, you know what I mean? Or, oh, they were much worse than I was. Like, that's a really addictive thinking, you know, in your head, that you say, oh, you sit in a room of like a group and you think, well, I never did that, or I never did this, you know? So it's important to look at the similarities and not the differences. I feel like this vlog has completely gone in 500 different directions. Wasn't I just talking about BookTube? This thing, like, I've, like, been fighting lately on, like, with BookTube, like, internally. Like, if you're not on BookTube, this will make no sense to you, but, like, it's like this thing that I've been fighting, right? That these people that I have watched for, like, a long time, like, when I first started watching them, they did, like, book hauls, and they did, like, you know, book reviews, and book tags, and readathons. Well, they've been doing BookTube now for, you know, 6-8 years. They're not doing that anymore. And, I mean, a few of them are, but, like, the majority of them are doing, like, more philosophical, esoteric kind of videos, you know? And I miss, like, the fun of BookTube, like, of just doing a book haul. Or, you know, I was watching a lot of videos today of, like, the top 10 of 2018. I just kind of, that was part of the rabbit hole that I fell down. And, like, I love those kind of videos, you know? And just, like, people getting so excited about the books that they watch. And I've been finding this kind of, like, internally, like, I feel like maybe I should be doing deeper videos, you know, on BookTube, talking about deeper issues and things like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, I just want to do what I want to do, which is what I've come up with, is I'm just going to do what I want to do. But you know what was so funny is I like these deeper videos that I've been watching. I think they're well done, and they make me think. And I did one the other day called Deep Thoughts on BookTube or something like that, because somebody, Gabby Reeds, had made a video, like, from this tag that I had done, and it really got me thinking, and so I did this video. But what attracted me to BookTube in the first place was that all these fun, spirited, passionate people about books, and I found this community, you know, of people that felt just as passionate. I mean, like, walking into a bookstore or Target, oh my God, the book section at Target is just, it's gorgeous, isn't it, if you've ever been there? I mean, it just makes you want to buy everything. And I don't know why, just specifically Target is, but Meijer has a really good book section too. Meijer actually has a better book section than Target, but Target just looks prettier. And, you know, just going into a bookstore and just being like, oh my God, I could spend $20,000, you know what I mean? And that feeling, and then meeting other people that not only do they have the same feelings and thoughts as you, but they feel it as strongly as you do, you know? And it's like you feel this camaraderie. And watching these newer booktubers, thank God for these newer booktubers, and this is why we need small creators building themselves up. And then once they get bigger, they, you know, they can build up the next smaller creator and things like that, because the reason we need them is they're doing what is in their heart and what they've seen and what makes them happy, because they've just started, right? And it just, like, re-inspired me, like, watching it on BookTube, and I was like, I don't know, it's so cool. And then I was thinking about all the stuff that I have done on BookTube that I would, like, never have done if I had never started BookTube. I would never have started a book club. I would never have met Mel. I wouldn't have met, I mean, I've probably met 20 to 50 people that I consider, like, not close, but good friends that I've met through BookTube. I mean, if I saw them out, I'd be like, oh my God, let's go get dinner or coffee or something, you know what I mean? But we don't live in the same area, so that it's not gonna happen. All the readathons I've done, you know, like, all the fantastic books I would never have read if I didn't do BookTube, because I would never have heard about half of these books. I didn't even know BookTube existed, you know, 3.5 years ago. I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary. I didn't even know it existed. Isn't that crazy? It's weird. It's weird how much, like, we think 5 years doesn't sound like a long period of time. I spend the majority of my time on YouTube. I started my BookTube channel less than 3 years ago. May 11th is my 3-year anniversary. I mean, I had made videos before in the past, but I mean, on other stuff, but stupid videos. My Peter Monn channel, like, my first drama video that I did on there was September 1st of 2016. So I'm at, like, 2.5 years of being on there. The vlog, I started January 1st, well, really December 31st, but January 1st of 2017. So this is, I've done 2 years on that. The Peterisms channel was My So-Called Healthy Life, and now it is Peterisms, which I changed a year ago, December. And Peter Review stuff I just started last fall. And it's crazy, you know? All the people I've met on YouTube, all of you out there that, you know, comment and email me, and I've talked to quite a few of you, and it's just crazy to me, you know, that, like, how much my life has changed in the past couple years as a result of this, and yet it hasn't even been 5 years ago. I mean, if you had said to me, okay, 5 years ago, what would 5 years ago have been? 2014? You guys, okay, the true story, I didn't even realize this till right now. 5 years ago, was March 2014. Alex and I were getting ready to go to Ultra. I did not start writing my book until April when I came back, because when we came back from Ultra in Miami that year, which is so funny because I just talked about the other day that I'm going to really like focus on writing when I come back this year. 5 years ago in April was when I wrote my book. I wrote it in a month. 4 weeks I wrote my book. I have the schedule written down at home. I should show that in a video, like of how much I wrote every day. Like I would write it, and at the end of that day I would like write down how much I wrote. I have all the notes and stuff on that book. I wanted to keep that someday so I could talk about that, my whole process and everything on writing that book. I made these binders up. I printed the whole book out, and then I went and copied it, like, after I'd sent it to my publisher. So it's like the true, like, rough draft. And I had, I made like 5 copies of it and put it in these big binders and gave it to people that I knew because I wanted them to read it. I was so excited. That was 5 years ago, you guys. So if 5 years ago today, you had said to me, you know, where do you think your life will be in 5 years? Well, I've traveled to places I never would have expected. I didn't even have like an active YouTube channel that I was posting on regularly. Didn't even have a thought about it. And any stretch of the imagination. Hadn't started working on a book that would end up going to win awards. I've had people that I've come into my life in the last 5 years that I never like would have met if it hadn't been those things. And that's why I really believe in the interconnectivity of the world, you know, that as a result of like one thing after another, I've met this person, I've met that person, whatever. And so it's crazy, isn't it, when you're like when you're in the moment of something and it's like really bad or really good, and you think like at that moment, like how profound that is to your life, or this is going to affect me for the rest of your life, or this is, but when you put it in the context of literally just 5 years of my life, just 5 years, so much has happened in my life, right? That like one really good thing or one really bad thing, like really what kind of impact did that really have in the grand scheme of just 5 years? You know, the constants have been my husband, my best friend, recovery, my family. I've lost my aunt and uncle in the last 5 years, you know. Caroline and I have gotten closer. I'm definitely a lot closer with Alex's family. You know, Carlitos is 6. He was 1 at the time. Sebastian wasn't even born. Alex's best friend has moved back. I mean, power of like 5 years, right? I remember watching when Adele won the Grammy for, I think it was the Grammy that she won. She won several awards, but for her very first album, 21, was that her first album? 20, I think it was. And she said on her acceptance speech, she said, "It's crazy to think that just a year ago, like I had just gotten out of the relationship and started working on this album and was in a studio." And then she said something like, "Look at where I'm at now a year later." She's like, the power of a year, you know? And we don't think about that often, I don't think, or at least I don't, that like 1 year of your life can change so much. I mean, literally so much, let alone 5 years, you know? And we throw out that number, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? My God, if you had asked me that 5 years ago, I would have had no idea that my life would have looked this way. None whatsoever. And yeah, there's been some real crap in there, but by and large, it's been awesome, you know? I'm so grateful for my life today. I have a really cool, blessed life today. It's crazy, isn't it? To think that, I mean, where were you 5 years? Put it in perspective. Really think to yourself, 5 years ago, where was I, you know? It's a nice thought, actually. I've accomplished a lot in the last 5 years. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of those around me. And I love my life. All right, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here. This went a little bit longer than I thought it would be, and I need to go home and go back to bed. And so I'm going to get off here. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, unless you have other plans. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And please go tell somebody that as well. Pass it on. Have a great Saturday. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.